About 8 years ago, myself and the other co-founder were inspired to help get the word out. When we learned about this big solution, about rebuilding soil, the potential for humanity to be stewards of helping nature build soil faster than we ever thought was even possible, this seemed like something that was almost too good to be true. So that was the kind of impetus of the organization. And then about a year into the organization, we met Josh and Rebecca Tickell and were able to convince them to begin a project creating the film, Kiss the Ground.
There's so much bad news about our planet, it's overwhelming. The truth is, I've given up. This is the story of a simple solution, a way to heal our planet. The solution is right under our feet, and it's as old as dirt.
The film says the solution is right under our feet, but many people have no idea what agriculture is all about. Talk to us about that.
So we like to phrase regenerative agriculture is agriculture that's causing regeneration. So when we think about regeneration, for something to regenerate, it has to have been hurt, harmed, or degenerated, right? It has to be broken somehow to have it heal itself. So when we look at our soil and our land, a lot of our land that's been in agriculture has been degraded or depleted. So the soil that makes up our land has been degraded, and we can see this in the desertification and loss of biomass on our land. This amazing thing about the solution being under our feet is the carbon in our atmosphere, Esther, that's currently causing a global warming effect, is the very building block. Well, soil's also alive. So if we take the carbon out of the atmosphere, help plants pump that liquid sugar back into the ground, that liquid carbon back into the ground, we can build topsoil that's faster than we ever thought possible. So this is sequestering carbon at an immense scale. So the more severe weather, the more flooding, the more droughts that we face, when we have healthy soil, we can become more resilient, and we can help our fresh water supplies return. We can create abundance of food that's healthy, and so many other incredible factors that come with it.
So there's a little bit of science here, and it may be a little complex for people who don't know anything about agriculture, and especially what you just talked about, regenerative agriculture. Can you explain that in layman's language?
The structure of this is made from carbon, and that carbon came from carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. So if we look at a leaf then, we say, well, the leaves, using energy from the sun, leaves are pulling in carbon dioxide that's in our atmosphere. In their stomata, they're using the energy of the sun and taking the carbon from carbon dioxide, connecting it with hydrogen and oxygen from H2O, water, and making carbohydrates. We didn't know that 30 to 40% of these liquid sugars are being pumped into the ground to feed microbes in the soil. And those microbes create soil aggregates, they build the soil, in essence. So essentially, the short version of it is plants pull in carbon, and the soil microorganisms store it.
Let's turn to Africa's agriculture, where most people might argue it's mainly organic anyway. But as we know, things are changing very quickly in the continent as farmers look for new methods that cut down time to harvest. How do you change that mindset?
Well, the push for more mechanical and more amendments like fertilizers and even pesticides and herbicides and fungicides is increasing at an alarming rate through all of Africa, really, as production and bigger companies are coming in there expecting larger production, quicker increases there in yield and everything. Because when we're dealing with brittle environments all across Africa, we're dealing with land that's already fragile. That's where we're headed with big industrial chemical agriculture. Inevitably, the land will be degraded and it'll be left to die. It's done. It'll be too beat up.
We can fix a lot of our climate issues if we bring the CO2 down into a living plant and put it back into the soil where it belongs.
Plants working with soil microorganisms, it seems too simple.
Healthy soils lead to a healthy plant, healthy human, healthy climate.
Moving to regenerative management is going to allow farmers to have more fertility versus less as things go. That means less input costs. That means more abundance, more regional sovereignty, water security, etc.
Talk to us, Finian, about the connection between soil health and human health.
So it's the organisms that make most minerals available. So when we have healthy living soil, those minerals can be taken up by the plant, and all of a sudden they come back and they make healthy leaf or healthy fruit, because those trace minerals, all those trace minerals that our body needs, are made available because of microorganisms. So unless we have healthy soil that's full of life, we don't get the nutrients that we need.
Given that this is a global concern, how important are consumers in this fight to get organically produced food?
I always say consumers are going to drive a bunch of this, a big part of it. They're deciding where they're going to get their product from, how their product's going to be made, how that's going to be sourced. Any of these purchasing agreements can be adjusted so they're supporting regeneratively grown food if we take that advocacy on. So that's why I do something called soil advocate training. We've trained about 3,000 advocates from over 30 different countries on how to advocate in their place, in their time, and make big differences.
Finian, how far have you taken this fight, so to speak, to the U.S. government?
The 25th of February, the new chairman of the House Ag Committee for the United States, Chairman Scott, he's a representative out of Georgia, he brought Gabe Brown to testify, and he showed a clip, a trailer of Kiss the Ground, the film, at the first hearing for the new House Ag Committee this year. So that was really a special moment. I was helpful in helping to curate that, make Gabe Brown our representative here, and help to make sure those messages were loud and clear. We're working with groups all across the world who are working with their governments. So we help to help people help themselves when it comes to advocating their governments. So that's what I'm most inspired about, is empowering advocates all across the world.
80% of all antibiotics sold are used unnecessarily on livestock.
You had a career in music, and I just want to know what hit you to get into this transformation. What happened?
The first thing that happened was I had a dream that altered my perspective on how much I needed to do to get involved. I was an old man in this dream, like 90 years old, and I was living in a refugee camp in Brazil at the time. And global climate change had wreaked havoc on the world. Billions of people had died and been misplaced. And I'm in this refugee camp, and my granddaughter wakes me up in the middle of the night. She's like, I found a hole in the fence. And the two of us sneak out of the refugee camp, and we walk through the hills. And then as we come over the crest of this one hill, in front of us is a city that's totally destroyed. And she looks up at me, and she has tears streaming down her face. And she's like, why did you let this happen? In that moment, I woke up and I was like, what would I say if that really happened? Because it is possible.
Fossil fuels are by no means the only thing that is causing climate change. When we damage soils, carbon goes back to the atmosphere.
But when we destroy soil, it releases carbon dioxide.
Biosequestration is using plants, trees, and techniques of grazing and farming to capture carbon and store it in the soil.
Is the damage done, or can we reverse this? And how quickly can we do this?
So much damage is done, and so much damage is being done. So one thing to remind ourselves all of is that if we halted all emissions today, we still have more residual carbon in our atmosphere with nowhere to go because of what we've done to our land. We have to start thinking beyond just limiting emissions into regeneration of our land so it functions again. And that's the hope that humanity has.
We haven't been this dry in decades.
At the end of the day, to be truly economical and efficient, farming needs healthy ecosystems.
If you had to convince anybody that this is a fight worth fighting, what would that be?
I strongly urge you to go to land that's been regenerated and stand on the fence line and see the world we're creating now, which is massive desertification and degradation, and to see on the other side what management just what humans are helping to steward on that land, the significant difference. And there's countless examples all over Africa, all over the US, where you can see how was management helping to regenerate this land or degenerate it. It's happening all over the world. In some of the most degraded places, turning into lush, abundant spaces because of how they're managed. And it can be done with livestock, it can be done with agroforestry, it can be done all over the world in every different environment. The principles of regenerative agriculture are tried and true in every continent, every place, everywhere.